Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level social studies lesson, and today we're going to be talking about a historical account of the civil rights movement. So in this lesson we will think about the civil rights movement, and so first kind of think about these questions. What does civil rights mean? Well, as we learned in the last video about Susan B. Anthony, it could it could include the right to vote, the right to citizenship, equality under the law. So civil rights have to do with the rights of citizens. And what do you know, if anything, about the civil rights movement? So we're going to read the text and then we'll look at the words in bold. So the civil rights movement was a struggle for equal rights for African Americans in the United States. It took place from the 1950s to the 1960s. This movement aimed to end discrimination and segregation against black people in society, schools, and workplaces. The movement was caused by the injustice and inequality experienced by African Americans in their daily lives. So, struggle would refer to something that is difficult, something that you have to work hard to achieve. Equal rights just means that everyone has the same rights under the law. Discrimination would be to deny a person their rights based on a factor such as their race, their gender. And then segregation is to separate people, again, based on things like race and gender. And injustice is things that are not fair. All right, so we'll look at these vocabulary words. When something is not right or fair, that would be for injustice. Everyone has the same rights and opportunities. That would be number 5, equal rights. A difficult fight to try to get or achieve something. That would be number 1, struggle. The act or policy of separating people from different groups. That's number 3, segregation. And the practice of treating somebody or a particular group in society less fairly than others is discrimination. So what do you know about the people in these pictures, and what did they do? So you have Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X. They were all important figures in the civil rights movement. So we'll learn a little more about each of them. So now we're going to read the text and then answer the questions. You can pause the video and read on your own, or you can follow along as I read. Segregation was a practice of separating people because of their race or ethnicity. It happened in the United States, mostly in the southern states, from the late 1800s until the 1960s. It was a result of racial discrimination and prejudice with laws and social customs that separated African Americans from white Americans in schools, public transportation, housing, and other public places. So explain in your own words what segregation was, when did it end, and why do you think it ended? So segregation affected all parts of life, and so here are some of the things that you could see in the pictures. Separate water fountains, separate waiting rooms. And so how do you think life would be during segregation? So we're going to read Liouba's reaction to the images of segregation. I'm shocked when I see images like this now. It's just wrong. It is hard to believe that there was such an unfair system for so long. And so how do you feel when you see the images like those on the previous slide? Do you agree with her? Are you shocked? Do you think it was wrong? So African Americans didn't just accept the injustice of segregation. One day in 1955, Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to follow segregation laws on a bus in Alabama. Rosa Parks wrote about what happened, so read and answer the questions. I had been pushed around all my life and felt at this moment that I couldn't take it anymore. When I asked the policeman why we had to be pushed around, he said he didn't know. The law is the law. You are under arrest. I didn't resist. So, can you explain the expressions in bold in your own words? Pushed around and couldn't take it anymore. What do you think those things mean? And what reason did the police officer give for arresting her? Basically, he just said the law was the law. And do you think this is a good reason? And is this a primary or a secondary source? Well, it's a primary source in that the account came from Rosa Parks herself. She wrote this herself. A secondary source would be someone else writing about her experience. So read Kiana's reaction to Rosa Parks' account. I think Rosa Parks is so inspiring. She knew she would be in trouble with the police, but she didn't care. She was so courageous. She shows us that we should be brave when we know we are right. And so you can answer this question. How did you feel when you read what Rosa Parks wrote on the previous slide? We'll talk about using adjectives. So what adjectives did they use? So here she said shocked, wrong, and unfair. Here some adjectives would be inspiring, courageous, and brave. And see if you can think of some other adjectives we could use to describe segregation. And what other adjectives could we use to describe Rosa Parks and others in the civil rights movement? All right, now we'll look at some additional definitions. So again, you can pause the video, try these on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, so important in history and likely to be remembered in the future. That would be number 8, historic. Not together would be number 5, separate. Very brave is number 2, courageous. No fighting or violence is number 6, peaceful. Having a large effect is number 4, powerful. Not right because some people are treated better than others. That's number 3, unfair. Making other people want to take action is number 1, inspiring. And when nobody is treated better or worse than anyone else, that is equal. So we're going to read this text about Martin Luther King Jr. and answer the questions. So I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Martin Luther King Jr. was a courageous civil rights leader who believed in the power of peaceful protest. In his inspiring I Have a Dream speech, he spoke about the unfair and separate treatment of African Americans, advocating for a fair and equal society where people of all races could live together in a peaceful way. To this day, his powerful words and vision for a better future are a reminder of the importance of equality and justice for all. So who was Martin Luther King Jr.? Well, he was a civil rights activist or civil rights leader, and he's famous for peaceful protest. So we're going to complete the sentences with words from the boxes, and they're telling us that more than one answer may be possible. So number 1 could be either inspiring or courageous. Leaders of the civil rights movement made millions of people stand up for their rights. Rosa Parks was very, again, courageous when she refused to give up, when she refused to follow segregation rules on the bus. The March on Washington was a historic event that will be remembered for years to come. Segregation was declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in 1954 in the Brown versus Board of Education case. Martin Luther King Jr. believed in the importance of peaceful protest. He did not support violence. Many people throughout history had to fight for equal rights, and it is unfair for people to be treated differently based on the color of their skin. So now think about what we've discussed in this lesson and see if you can make some sentences using some of the adjectives that we learned or some other adjectives that you know to describe the events of and people of the civil rights movement. So here's some sentence starters, and you can try those on your own. All right, so who are some courageous and inspiring people from history? They might be from the history of your own country, or if you're familiar with some from the US, that's fine too. And see if you can describe what they did. And what are some other historic events or movements that you know well? And try to use some adjectives to describe those things. And then finally, we have just some review. What was the civil rights movement? Who was Rosa Parks, and what did she do? And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any questions, leave those for me in the comments. Thanks for watching.